Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Petzo joining us now. The Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. Petzo. On social media, on Facebook. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin.
You know, it's been a while since we've talked about this, the financial business.
Yeah.
There seem to be more and more people getting into it. And when it comes to picking an advisor, when it comes to people making smart decisions, are there still people getting ripped off? I have a friend of mine who really I'm very proud of. He's a self-made guy, just like a lot of people that are successful. His first name is Dave. And, I actually two Daves. I have a friend of mine named Dave who retired. He had a trusted advisor. He's worked really well with him. Instead of taking the pension, like he took the pension, had a really great advisor. The guy has really taken care of him. Actually, it's funny. They're both named Dave, and they both live in Ohio, and it's just amazing. One, again, retired from the phone company, and a really great guy. And he goes, look, I've got this great advisor. He's taking care of me. I have another friend named Dave who's a couple years older than me. He, personal trainer, bodybuilding promoter, just endlessly nonstops promoting. He should really write a book on marketing. And he could sell it because he knows how to market. And he's got a financial advisor as well that has done really well for him. But there are still horror stories of people getting ripped off, even though we're living in, you're going to love this one, the gilded age of the market.
Yes, of course. Kevin, it is. It's a tough environment, too, because regulation is interestingly split right now. We've got a circumstance where the Department of Labor overreached. I mean, only in America can you think that the Department of Labor should be working to revise rules regarding investing. It makes no sense. I mean, only an academic would think because I'm really good at being a bureaucrat in the Labor Department, I should probably do the SEC's job. But they did. Now, because the elections didn't go the right way for them, that's been kind of repealed. It's been pulled back, but there were some good things that were coming from that would require people to act in a fiduciary type of responsibility, which means we are required to act only in your best benefit.
That's in theory.
Yeah, in theory.
Tell that to Mike Tyson. He got ripped off.
Yes, and many others do. And so that was I think in many cases, in many ways, they overreached, but it was a pretty good idea for reform. But the biggest problem I have in the industry is the lack of responsibility on the insurance side. There's just no oversight. I complain constantly about the Department of Insurance, which is a do-nothing organization, and they do nothing. It's absurd how little they do to protect senior citizens. When we have equity index annuities and very misleading products that they do not have to disclose all of the problems to, and all the commissions and all the compensation and how long the money's tied up and how it won't work. These kind of disclosures are what allows the transparency to work. So when you talk about your Daves in your life that are that have good advisors, right?
Right.
That's great, and most of them are.
The Dave that I have right here every week, too.
Well, thank you for that.
The Daves of my life, yes.
That's right. And I appreciate that, but it is something that for those of us that we don't just follow the rules. We expand on them. We do what's right by the client, and I think most people do that. But finding somebody that the rules still need to be tightened up, especially on the insurance side. It's absolutely absurd, the lack of disclosures. I don't get it. It makes no sense, and I don't know why the Department of Insurance insists on letting senior citizens get ripped off, because they do. That's who gets ripped off. They are. It's the senior citizens that get their money tied up. It's not the average Joe. They're out there and they understand that there are problems with some of these annuity contracts that are just off the charts bad.
Dave Petzo joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. But I mean, finding that right advisor.
Yes, and that's
what are your tips for that?
Kevin, it's a great question, and it's one of those things you also have to have an instinct for, but I'll give you the practical things. They need to be certified financial planners, because that means they've got some experience in the industry and they've made a commitment to the industry. The problems in the industry typically, although not always, typically don't come from certified financial planners. They don't. They come from people that aren't. They have some kind of other, quote, certification. Usually it's, done with $150 in an hour's worth of time. And they get some kind of crazy certification. Kevin, if they're not, then they're not committed to the industry. If they're not working in a fiduciary capacity, which is what certified financial planners are required to do, then I don't think you should be doing business with them at all. They need to have 5 years, preferably 10 years experience. You might say, well, how do you get started? Well, you get started with an organization like ours, right? You get started within that protection of having people with experience. And I certainly think that checking around with friends, and also go to BrokerCheck, which is through FINRA, and make sure that that person doesn't have a lot of complaints.
Dave Petzel joining us here. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we're going international today.
All right. I like it.
Right.
I like it.
Not yet about the Chinese.
I'm a globalist.
Right. Well, but you've been put America first
I am.
for the past.
Yeah.
Right. Possibly, well, since the president came to office.
Absolutely.
Less
no.
of a globalist now. Anyway, Putin and Trump are meeting. What are, if any, are there any economic opportunities in Russia, considering the corruption there? They've got the oil, they've got the natural gas.
Yep.
People compare it to, in the old days you would deal with government officials, now you deal with the mobsters. Mm-hmm. What goes on? What is the business of Russia?
Yeah, there's a lot of business going on in Russia, but you're right. I think it's too dangerous for the average person. I steer away from Russia. You've missed some great market moves there. There's no question about it, but they've also had great crashes. And really, Kevin, the reason why is because we are talking about the mafia running things. So if they don't like you, if suddenly Putin doesn't like the Gazprom oligarch,
right,
then they put him out of business. They murder the guy or whatever, take all his stuff, put him in jail, and then basically take over the company. But there's so much corruption that you just cannot really trust the books. You can't trust that the company's going to stay in business. It's the same feeling I have about China. When you really can't trust free markets, then I really don't need to invest there. I want to be on the cutting edge with Asia, but I prefer doing it in a place like Hong Kong that has a freer market, it's not as good, or Taiwan and things like that, where there is a little bit less corruption on the government level, and you have a better rule of law to trust the numbers. But Kevin, you're absolutely right. You cannot trust Russia to do business there. Now, if you own something or you feel like you're connected there, that's fine. But I don't think the average person out there should be dabbling in places like Russia.
So their economy, though, boom or bust, basically oil?
Basically, it is energy. It is, totally. That's all they do, and the problem with that, of course, is like all nations that rely on oil, as we become more energy independent, these countries have more and more problems because they have not developed their overall economy. That's one of the things that China is really trying to make that transition from manufacturing widgets, stealing technology and manufacturing widgets. That's the Chinese way. And that has changed now to have more of a grown-at-home consumer economy, and they're making a very good transition at that. It slows down the growth rate initially, but the growth rate is still strong in China, and Russia just really has no overall economy that's doing well at all. A little bit of tourism, they opened up the doors, but energy's it.
What about India?
India is exciting. Now, that's an interesting place. India is very exciting because it is the largest democracy in the world. Now, they've got problems with the caste system. They've got all kinds of problems there. There's heavy corruption as well. But you're seeing some really strong changes. They got rid of the cash in the system in order to try to make sure that the tax receipts were correct, better. They could actually collect taxes. And Kevin, that was a tough transition for them, but they are really making those transitions. I think they are the new growth engine in that part of the world is going to be India. It's not that they haven't been growing, and their market has done very well, but they also have rule of law that's creeping in on securities. It's a place you can invest, and I think people should. It may not be my lifetime, but my kids will be very happy that I invested in India.
All right, Dave Petzel joining us here, KIDO Talk Radio. Before we roll on, any big stories that you'd like to talk about today?
No, Kevin, you always laugh or joke about this in the dog days of summer. We are on to earnings, though, so this next couple of weeks will be exciting, individual company exciting, but it is really there's not a lot generally going on with the economy except ho-hum, retail sales are up, ho-hum.
Well, not according to your friends that say that the market has taken a beating because of the tariffs, and that might hurt the midterm elections.
Well, that
for Republicans.
That very well could be if the economy is at all hurt. So far, it has not been. I mean, again, I don't like the idea of a trade war. I don't think anybody likes the idea of a trade war. But we have to fix trade, and this president is bold enough to make those kinds of tough decisions, tax codes, going in and going after regulations that were just absolutely over the top, going after these tough things, negotiating with North Korea. Pushing back on the Chinese. These are tough things to do. It's a lot easier to just go ahead and get along in the world and continue to get rolled over, and we have been. But I'm still very optimistic that the trade talks will go well in the end, and nobody wants a trade war, and I don't think Donald Trump wants a trade war at all.
Aren't we already in a trade war?
No.
I mean, we've hit them with tariffs. They're hitting us with tariffs.
It's fair, but it's not. It's
Isn't
such a
that
small
volley,
part right now.
Volley back. Isn't that?
I call it. Yeah. We're right now we're fighting with BB guns. This is not our first go around, and nobody thought in the 1980s and 1990s and 2000s that at various times when we put tariffs on, whether it was for DRAM chips or all kinds of things, it's happened for Micron, right? When we put those tariffs on for various companies, nobody thought it was a trade war. That was just a BB fight, right? We're going to temper, you guys are not doing this right, and we're going to put a tax on it and make it more fair.
Is it like what we call in wars a conflict? It's not a war.
I think that's good. I like that. This is just a little regional spat or conflict.
Right, economic conflict.
Yeah.
Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. How about this? Bitcoin down to just hovering around $6,000 from an all-time high of almost $20,000 a Bitcoin.
I know, exactly. We're 14,000 down towards zero. I mean, it is a huge collapse for Bitcoin. I still don't understand why Bitcoin, and I think it's lost its, if you will, the bubble is popping, and I just don't see any future for Bitcoin. I see the technology as a future. I don't see Bitcoin having a future.
Think of, though, all the people in and around Spokane, in and around Washington, because of the the environmental conditions are so ripe for it.
Yep.
Energy costs are low. They've built these massive mining things.
Yes.
And look, even though maybe it costs them $1,000, still $6,000 is great. But you go back to an all-time high of $18,000. Again, is there anything really of value anymore, or is it just speculation? You and I talk about this all the time when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, it's tough. At least on real estate, you can see some income from it, right? You could lease it out. There's all kinds of things you can do with real estate. Same with stocks. They pay dividends. They have earnings. You have a share of that company. But with Bitcoin, I just don't know what you have, and you have nothing. To me, it's a new form of a pretty brick called gold. It's a new form of something that is raw speculation that has really no value, doesn't do anything, can't do anything, but people proclaim it has some store of value. It's kind of like if I just yell it loud enough, eventually people will say, yeah, gold has great value.
Right.
But it's a very beautiful metal, but it is not. It doesn't produce any income over the years. That's the big driver behind any investment: is what kind of income am I going to receive in the end? And with gold or Bitcoin, any commodity, frankly, it's just raw speculation that it's going to go up in value because you cannot get any income from it.
Well, more on that in a minute. Plus, getting back to a hot topic: housing in the Treasure Valley with Dave Petzo, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Dave Petzo joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning. Money Matters, don't forget, this Saturday, 8 to 10 on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So I was talking to a friend of mine. He was looking for a home in Caldwell. It was about $295, $298, which is, to me, expensive. And 5 showings within 2 weeks. It sold for around $320. So I put it to you, Dave.
Yes.
Well, you can get an affordable home. You just have to keep driving. What's next? Marsing? What's next? Notice?
Yeah. What's the place I'm thinking of as you head up north? Council.
Well,
Cambridge, Midvale.
Dude, I've been to Midvale.
Yes.
Yes. Larry and Mary in Midvale. Yes. Hello.
Yes.
They're listening right now. But there isn't a lot in Midvale or Payette or any of these places. Emmett seems to be the next boom town.
Mosquitoville.
Right, if you're on the wrong part of town.
Yeah.
One part of town, no mosquitoes. The other part of town, lots of mosquitoes. From what I hear, I've been to Emmett like 3 times.
Right, I know. It's been years since I've been there, too. So, yes. Well,
I'm
I'm pretty sure there'll be a premium pricing on the non-mosquito side of town.
So where do we go from here when we're looking at this housing bubble? Aren't you concerned? I know in the past you've said, no, I'm not, because the regulations are a lot more, but still you have people coming in, buying homes, and it's not like we have an infinite source of water here either.
Right.
I mean, sooner or later, we've talked to Roger Bat about this, it's, we have this elaborate system, which is great. It served us very well for 1 million or 1 million people, but 3 million, 5 million?
Right.
When does that infrastructure get tested?
No, it's probably going to be tested. I don't think it's being tested yet, but we can't be that far away from the next drought, right?
Right.
And then you will feel it. There's no question.
Your lawn will feel it.
What's that?
Your lawn will feel it.
And our wallets, right? Yeah. I mean, United Water. I'm sorry, what is it? Suez is so expensive. It's ridiculous.
The French.
The French are gouging us.
Yeah,
that's where we need Trump.
I was going for Croatia in the World Cup, but anyway, I digress. Back to this affordable housing.
Kevin, it's a first world problem. That's really what it is, and I don't mean to for those people that are struggling. It is a problem, but it's a problem because we're growing, and that's what we need to wrap our minds around. That's the tough part.
Is it good growth though?
Generally speaking, yes. When people take bags of money and leave California and come here and buy homes with cash, it's good growth. And then they spend money in the stores. They retire here.
And they wear their California outfits that are too revealing, or they're too politically correct, or they pull out without using a turn signal, or they keep their California plates.
You know what I'm seeing, really? I agree with you. There's some problems there, but I have not seen
What are you,
people
running for office? You see them all over the place.
Get voted. I want Californians voting for me. I'm just saying the Californians that I've met are definitely right of center.
Right.
They're not left of center.
And they moved to Boise.
And they come here.
The left of center city. The libs.
They are. I think they're actually going to help. I don't think that they're hurting the GOP at all in Idaho.
This is why
the ones I've met. These are the gun-toting people that can't take it anymore.
This is why Dave Petzo's the optimist on this segment of the program. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But back to this huge influx of people coming in.
Yep.
We've seen more and more people using the infrastructure.
Yep.
We've talked to some people. I've talked to Kent Goldthorpe of the Commissioner, Ada County Highway District, and he said they've maxed out on impact fees with people, with builders. So do you raise the impact fees? You a fan of big government?
Yeah, I think you have to a degree. You can't just have the infrastructure be suddenly you recognize we need new schools, we need new roads widened and things like that because they put a new place in, and now how are we going to pay for it? The impact fees, of course, more government destroys the value of that capital, but capital, even if it's less than its original intent because government's dealing with it, at least we need some of that money to build out the roads. We really do. And so impact fees are reasonable. I think that they are a reasonable way of doing it because it is a big impact.
I knew you'd be a big government guy. More with Dave Petzo in a minute. KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. All right, now it's our Pander with Petzo segment here at KIDO Talk Radio. You're familiar with the thing called the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, right?
Yes.
Okay, they're very, very popular. I can remember being in my apartment in Ohio watching the first UFC with my favorite individual, me. And UFC won in 1993, 25 years. Now it's one of the hottest sports. It was bought by the people that own CAA and others, the big talent agency, for $4 billion. So they were in Boise, and we interviewed some of the fighters. And I wrote a column on this on KIDO Talk Radio about just the huge economic impact. And they were more like ambassadors. It was like watching Butch Otter on steroids because they just kept talking about, we love Boise. CenturyLink Arena was sold out. Now, they're probably going to have to do something with that facility because it was very hot. And, again, you got to keep those fighters cool and such. But every fighter, every person, because I watched the broadcast. It was broadcast on FS1, which is the Fox Sports Radio equivalent to ESPN. And they just really marveled about the Treasure Valley. Mm-hmm. And usually those fights are in Dubai, they're in Vegas, they're in New York City, they're at the Staples Center. They're in much more larger or exotic places.
Right.
It says a lot that we've garnered that.
Yeah.
But economically and promotionally, your thoughts on Friday night on FS1, Saturday night, maybe 300 to maybe 1 million people were given a look at this place.
Yeah, well, people have discovered Boise. I think the growth in Boise has occurred a lot because of technology, Kevin, where people can literally go online. You don't have to visit all these places or hang out for a few months. You can have almost virtual visiting, and you can begin to understand a community. You can read about them. You think about that in so many ways. It's something like if you aren't feeling well, you can probably come pretty close to a diagnosis yourself. Not that that can't be dangerous, don't get me wrong, but there's so much information out there. And as we look online, I've met so many people from the Midwest that have moved out here, and it's because they discovered it basically and heard about Boise.
You remember our old friend Jason Wilmot, right? That's what he would call the Midwest, the Mideast, because it was really the East comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
But you have people moving out here, but Boise State getting ready to ramp up.
Yep.
They've been the biggest
draw
promotional vehicle.
Huge.
Everybody comes in and says this area is great, and it is. I guess it's the challenge of keeping it great. It's for me as a Treasure Valley guy, not so much a Boise guy.
Yeah.
How do you again, the big challenge, it's a good problem to have, is managing it.
Yeah, it is, but it is a problem. There's no doubt it is, and I'm with you, Kevin. I loved my old Boise, where it wasn't quite as busy, wasn't quite as crowded.
Sure.
It just was, and it was a little nicer, a little bit easier to do the things you want to do. But there are advantages to the growth. Obviously, the kids stay here; they can find jobs here, and it's a flourishing community. And we do also have, to your point, the UFC wasn't here 12 years ago.
Right.
They're here now because of the growth. And I'm not a UFC fan, but the point is what concert do you want to go to? They're probably coming through Boise. It's all of those things that are available here that are that aren't available everywhere else or aren't available to smaller communities.
You're right. Dave Pezzo, the Pezzo Center, Pezzo Financial, the business community getting more diverse. Finally, we talked a little bit about this. Tommy Ahlquist, Dr. Ahlquist, switching to another firm.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think he runs again for something?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
He ran hard.
He did.
He ran really hard.
I think
he ran like he wanted it. And
I think he worked harder than anybody else. And that's no
I
slight
had
to Brad
that impression.
Little.
I had
Brad
that
Little
impression.
was right there with him, neck and neck.
Yep. I had that impression too. He worked very hard. And most people don't win their first time. Very rarely do people win their first time.
That's why you bowed out. You're ready. You're already getting ready for 4 more years.
Right.
You're ready for Pezzo in 2020, 2022.
Oh yeah. I'm just ramping up the campaign. Kevin, it's such a tough thing, and I'm sure after people get done, I obviously know some of the politicians on a more personal level.
Well, you
it
hang
takes
in
their
those
toll.
you hang in those circles.
Not much, but
Right.
you hang in those circles. I just hang in your orbit.
As long as the key card works, I hang in their circles.
That's-
When I don't, I'll be at the Star Merc. Okay, that'll be $3.99 for the beef jerky. Dave Pezzo, the Pezzo Center, Pezzo Financial, on Facebook, on Twitter. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you.
You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This is a story we brought you last week, but we really didn't get to it, and it's something that is crazy. Now, a lot of people are saying, Kevin Miller, you pick on the people from California. What do you know? You're right. I'm from east of the Great River. I still have east of the Great River biases. I'll self-report. If you see me around, there's a gentleman that I saw in church, and he said, what are you doing with that long-sleeve shirt there, Mr. Miller? And I said, as my wife always says, do you have to dress like you're constantly looking for a kickball tournament? And, you dress how you want to, but there are many people that I admire that are going to be working in this horrific heat. It's not so bad right now, but the road crew, the housing people, the framers, the electricians, the plumbers, hello to the coons, all these people that are out in the heat, that's work. And then we go to the people that made America great. And in the West, we have a bias towards them. They would be the cowboys, right? The cowboys. What is that, the Kid Rock song? I'm a cowboy. No, I'm not going to sing it. But think about Cowboys and what they mean to you. So you have a couple institutions called the Cowboy. What is it? Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. You have the University of Wyoming Cowboys. So, and again, it's the lead story at KIDOTalkRadio.com. One Western University groups there. They don't like the Cowboys. The University of Wyoming, we all need to do this because there's a ton of money in it. We need to just start a marketing firm. So the marketing firm, after charging the university $500,000, I don't know if Don Draper from Mad Men was involved in this, to come up with a slogan. Guess what the slogan was? It's very catchy. The world needs more cowboys. That's right. The world needs more cowboys. They paid $500,000 for that. And then you have people, and I suppose it's a First Amendment thing, at the University of Wyoming, that they don't like the term cowboys. They have an issue with cowboys. And I think what we're looking at here is a result of the indoctrination of Obama, of his politically correct Politburo, of everything else, right? The world needs more cowboys. And yet you have people in Wyoming saying that it's negative, that it's bad. In fact, they say a cowboy is sexist, promotes a white heterosexual stereotype. Really? I've had lots of different reactions. Angela Jamie said, the director of the American Indian Studies Department, I was really disappointed in the university for endorsing such a negative slogan. She's probably, maybe 30 at most, with all due respect. I was kind of like, whoa, has anyone else heard of this? Christine Boggs, an instructor and co-chair of the Committee on Women and People of Color at Wyoming. The group sent a letter to the university to voice its grave concerns about the slogan and requesting that UW shelve it in favor of a more diverse slogan. Now, we've seen this across the country. Well, Ole Miss, they're not the Rebels anymore. They're some type of dog or something like that, I guess, right? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So as we get ready to, embrace our Western roots, the roots that conquered the West, let's speak out in defense of the cowboy.
Restless curiosity. Whatever happened to that? When did we stop thinking up new questions and daring to chase down their answers? Should we blindly follow predetermined paths when they never take us anywhere new? Should we really be on autopilot when there's still so much to explore off the beaten trail? The world needs more wonder, more outside thinkers hungry for a challenge. The world needs more cowboys. And not just the kind that sweep you off your feet and ride you off into the sunset. Ours are diverse cowboys who come in every sex, shape, color, and creed. They come from Wyoming, Montana, Delaware, and Nigeria. Because it's not what you are that makes you a cowboy or cowgirl, but who you are. It's a shared spirit. It's the spirit of the underdog, the trailblazer, the kind of spirit that longs for something to prove. The kind that emboldens those who possess it to stand on the perimeter and howl into the unknown with unbendable optimism. The world needs more people to pick up the torch of progress and fearlessly venture onwards. The world needs more cowboys.
There you have it, the University of Wyoming. That's their slogan. And you have people, faculty members, saying, this needs to go. Can't we just stop taking ourselves so overly seriously? I mean, here we are, and yes, we can go back to the Peter Strzok stuff, which is blowing it up, but when did we make cowboys bad? When did we start saying that it's to this, to that? Tell that to the people that were on the trail and that are still on the trail, right? I love this. Here's another one. Well, the concern for me is the boy part, right? Said Christine Porter. Since the 1950s, at least in other parts of the country, it's no longer acceptable to use the generic masculine and pretend that it includes feminine. Well, I think we're all confused about gender these days. Heck, when we're talking about, getting your license, now you can pick other. What is an other? You either have the outside plumbing or you don't. She added the word cowboy brings to mind an image of a straight white man and past conflicts with Native Americans. As the director of American Indian Studies, it's become incredibly problematic to try to imagine using any of these promotional material when I'm recruiting Native students, she said. The term cowboy evokes the racist playtime of cowboys and Indians. Now we can't even play cowboys and Indians. And we're not talking about a crazy college in California. We're not talking about UC Berkeley. We're talking about the University of Wyoming. And people have been critical of Boise State, saying, look, too politically correct, too much indoctrination. And then we all become neutered folks. But my goodness, shouldn't we stand up for the cowboy? In 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it's too white, it's too straight, it's too stereotypical. What was the West? What is the West? And this is what they're teaching kids today. I love this. The racist playtime of cowboys and Indians. So everybody who played cowboys and Indians is a racist. What a dark, miserable world this person lives in my personal opinion. There's a beauty in the United States of America. There's a beauty in people that put on the hat, that put on the denim, that live the life. How dare they attack our beloved cowboys? Right? I love it. So people, now they've made this a big issue. To me, the ad is kind of politically correct. Haven't we had, and that's why the president was elected, haven't we had enough PC? Is this where we draw the line? I would say it is. I love this. Cowboys are from here. Cowboys are American. Maybe some Canadian. Some other places, but the Cowboys are the good guys. But not according to the faculty, some of them, at the University of Wyoming. I think this is wonderful. Being sarcastic promotes a white heterosexual stereotype. What's wrong with that? We denigrate white heterosexuals. What's wrong with promoting? We promote everybody else. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for starting your day with us. Thank you all for listening. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget, join us this Friday. We'll do the morning show from Independence Indoor Shooting. Come by, fire off some rounds. And, of course, Girls with Guns, all brought to you by Independence Indoor Shooting. Call them now. 576-GUNS. It's like Disney for the Second Amendment. Let's go to Lee Joe with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Lee Joe.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. As a person who's hauled a lot of those cows with a lot of them cowboys, we've, for some reason, somebody's got this idea that cowboys are a bunch of white guys. They're not a bunch of white guys. There's some white guys, and there's some guys from south of the border, and there's some Basque guys, and there's a bunch of ranchers' daughters, and so this group must have something against a diverse working class group. I'm guessing.
Apparently, they don't like America.
Apparently, and how many cows are raised on Indian reservations? Lots and lots. So they're just an anti-American group, I'm guessing. That's got to be what's going on.
Well, if it bothers them so much, maybe they should decide to quit their jobs at the University of Wyoming, because their motto is their mascot's the cowboy.
Exactly, and you're, if we're not supposed to stereotype people and categorize them without knowing them, what gives them the right to say that a cowboy is always just a white guy? It's really far from the truth. I've been to a lot of ranches and hauled a lot of cows. That surprises me what's on horseback when I get there. So, yep. real interesting. The liberals want to take over all the university system and tell you how to think and tell you what your perception should be as to, every group in the world, basically. But they won't remove the, how's it go? Remove the smoke from their own eye so that they can see that actually there's all kinds of cowboys, same as there's all kinds of everybody, that everybody's an individual, period. That's all there is to it. So, anyway, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Lee Joe. Take care. More of your calls in a minute. First, traffic and weather together, 107.
Channel 7's every Gabbard.
And let's go to Paul in Nampa with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Paul.
Hey, Kevin, good morning. How are you?
Not bad, sir, and you?
Very well. Hey, listen, little history of the cowboy. A lot of the cowboys in the early part of the West came from the slaves that got freed in the South and moved west because they heard there was something they could do, and they rode horses and were pretty good at it. And then the horses themselves came from the Spaniards who got released them or they ran away. And, I mean, you got cowboys in Argentina, you got cowboys in Mexico, all over. So it's really pretty diverse, the cowboy.
Well, Bill O'Reilly did a thing on the Real Lone Ranger, and he was black.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. There were a lot of slaves that came out of the Civil War that became cowboys in the West because they couldn't find work in the South. So you look into the history of the cowboy, and it's a little more diverse than they wanted to make it out.
Yeah, why do they just lie?
Because they don't have anything else firm to stand on. The truth that hurts them, so they want to start their own truth. That's the problem.
Something. Yep. Paul, thank you.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
All right, appreciate it. Dan in Middleton with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dan.
Right along with that last guy, there's a book in the library called The History of Cowboys, and it's got a lot of pictures in it from back in the 1860s, 1870s, right after the Civil War. You'll see there's a couple of pictures of the cowboys sitting around a fire, and one of the ways they identified cowboys was by a red bandana or a red sash. And you see these guys sitting around the campfire. Of course, it's black and white, but you can tell they all have a similar colored sash or bandana on. And they're black, Native American, Mexican. Obviously, some of them are from Europe because they've got blue eyes. You can tell they've got blue eyes. So this idea that the romanticized Hollywood cowboy being a white male is total BS.
Dan, thank you. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
You bet.
All right. Much more coming up. Our friend Cindy's on hold. We'll talk to her. And our great friend Lars Larson. Remember, you can catch Lars after Sean Hannity. Sean is going to be in Finland today with Sarah Carter. That's going to be a great show. Remember, Sean Hannity, weekdays at 3, then Lars Larson right after that on the right side, right? Kevin Miller in the morning, your home for Fox News, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.